Welcome to Lifestyles+, the magazine of Berkshire, Hathaway, HomeServices, EWM Realty. I'm your host, Olga Villaverde. Joining me today to talk about the latest trends and happenings in South Florida and around the world is Editor-in-Chief of Lifestyle South Florida, Anetta. Nowosielska. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So great to have you.
Thank you very much.
So much to talk about.
So much.
And I love this amazing article, Spirited. It says, listen to this, folks, a study has been done how sound can affect taste perception.
Absolutely.
How so?
It's a great story, actually, and it talks to the fact that we actually normally do drink and listen to music in the back. But now there's a lot of study that suggests that the alcohol may act differently depending on the music that's being played. So if you want to have sort of a chill out moment, obviously classical music is great, but it will also kind of make your palate experience the wine differently. So that's kind of very interesting. And if you want to have, for instance, champagne, probably the best pairing would be hip hop to kind of elevate the bubbles and make them kind of joyous and vibrant. So I think it's a very interesting development.
And speaking of bubbles, Krug Champagne working with musical institutes as well to examine how types of music causes champagne to also taste differently?
Absolutely. And there are,
this is great.
It's fantastic, actually. I think that we are just trying to get to the bottom of it all. And they are actually working with a lot of musicians and are seeing what kind of music they can write after having, I guess, some amount of tasting, although I'm curious to see what that would really sound like. But I'm imagining it's
would the tunes be correct?
Why not?
But it's still very interesting. Something I love also in the magazine, jewelry and art.
Yes.
Liz Swig producing jewelry based from works of art.
Yes.
Where did that happen and how?
Well, Liz Swig is actually a very well-known and respected art collector. She was sitting at one point on the board of Whitney Museum. Exposure to arts is really very much part of her life, and she's charged herself with this idea of expanding the exposure of the artist to a different kind of a follower, if you will. Not everybody can afford to buy enormous pieces or blue chip art. She's basically retained some of the greatest artists of our time to collaborate with her on jewelry. Artists like Rashid Johnson did an amazing collection called Anxious Men, and that's actually one of my favorites. It's a really very interesting collection and collaboration, and she continues to do that with multiple artists.
And to add to that, she created cameos to cuffs and rings, and celebrities have actually noticed this now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Kate Blanchett who wore a cameo done by Cindy Sherman, who is one of my favorites, and she wore it to the Venice Film Festival a couple of years ago. But definitely it's a statement, and a personality needs to carry it. It's really a beautiful piece of art.
Very creative.
Art.
Very creative. Speaking of art, I know how much you love artwork. The Kimpton Epic Hotel now has an art in residence program.
Yes.
Now that sounds fascinating.
Yes. So Kimpton Hotel is sort of at the center of downtown Brickell area, and now it's really at the core of sourcing art and artists from the area as well. Their Artist in Residence program is now in its second year, and it's kept 6 artists on rotation for a year. So each artist gets 2 months of showing of their art to quite an interesting array of people who go and stay in the hotel or visit.
And
it's
that's
a great
on the
exposure.
16th floor.
It's actually spread through the hotel, but
And
on the
it's a
16th
rotating exhibit?
Yes, it's a rotating exhibit, and actually the artists, which is I think such a great concept, are invited to conduct their business on the 16th floor, so they can have their meetings there. Whoever is showing at the time can actually have their sort of mini office there and entertain.
It's a great opportunity too.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a great idea.
It's a great thing.
As always, thank you for coming. You always have such wonderful things to talk about. And of course, I always ask you to take me away with you one day.
Oh, anytime. The boat. The boat is ours.
Oh my gosh. Just for a day, I'll take it.
Yes.
Thank you, Anetta. And later on in the show, we're actually going to talk with, and she's right there, right next to us, model turned author Paulina Porizkova. And up next, we're going to delve into the fashion world as well. So stay with us. My next guest knows the icons of fashion, attends all the top fashion shows in exotic locations, and is a fashion statement herself. She has been featured, get this, in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, and Elle. I am so thrilled to welcome Lifestyles magazine fashion director, Denisa Palsha. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Olga. That was way too kind.
Oh my gosh, way too kind. Please, it's an understatement. I mean, we're talking about modeling fashion runways, and my question is, why aren't you doing it? Look at you.
That question was not planned, I have to say, everybody. Well, I grew up with a mom designer. I'm really fortunate. So this is my life. Fashion is my life, and I'm really obsessed with fashion designers and fashion. So this is how I roll.
And you've been to fashions all over the world. I mean, all over. You know it all. And I was reading here that and if I say it wrong, I'm sorry, but the Schiaparelli.
You got it.
I got it. The Schiaparelli fashion house really stands out. Tell me what it is about that brand and why it's just so talked about.
Absolutely. You know, one of my favorites. So after the pandemic, mood in fashion completely changed.
Oh, yeah.
People are ready to stand out, to get out there in those high impact pieces again. And Schiaparelli is about bold fashion statement, partly because it has such a strong DNA in art. Elsa Schiaparelli, who started this fashion house, couture house, last century in Paris, was very close personal friend with world-renowned surrealists like Salvador Dali and Jean Cocteau, and they very much influenced her creative work. So she actually revolutionized fashion in that she brought surrealism to it, and she's not only considered to be a designer, but an artist herself. And then 100 years later, young American Daniel Roseberry walks in and he took over artistic direction of the house. And after just a very short tenure, he literally created obsession for the fashion industry.
And I love what he's doing. Tell me how he is. I mean, look at this. Look at these colors. Look at your green. I absolutely find it stunning. How is he kind of taking that legacy and making it just more amazing?
So first of all, Daniel is first and only to date an American that leads fashion couture house creatively, and he's only in his 30s, so something we've never seen before. He's actually often referred to as a genius. Elsa was a visionary. She was an image maker, and she was somebody that created the very first themed collection with Dali. In fact, she'll be always known for these iconic pieces as an outer zipper and first wraparound dress ever, power suits for women with big shoulders, skeleton gown, lobster dress. She, however, took her collection to imaginary places. For her, fashion was not about what's beautiful, but what's interesting. So away from conventional understanding and definition of beauty. Daniel is an innovator. He recoded and significantly evolved visual language of this house by bringing his outrageous, avant-garde, and at times provocative fashion concepts. He's creating fantastical collection that will literally take your breath away.
These are statements.
Absolutely. Yet he's respecting code of the house. So he very much builds off of Elsa's legacy. There's a great continuity between the two of them, even with 100 years apart. But he's clearly moving this fashion house forward.
So tell me about going to the headquarters in Paris. What was that like?
Wow.
Wow. I mean, that's the best word.
Yes.
Wow.
It was exactly a stepping to the place between really reality and fantasy, which is exactly how he defines the vision of the house that he so well executes on. I remember, I'll literally never forget the first time I walked into Place Vendôme showrooms, which was a night before a couture show. And that's usually one of the opening acts of Couture Week in Paris, which is the spectacle everybody's waiting for.
I know.
So walking into
Exciting.
these sunlit, huge spaces, looking at a beautiful square, same location, by the way, where Elsa started her legacy last century. And you see the showrooms filled with evocative looks, most sought after from last collections, and tables filled with these eccentric accessories as purses with faces.
Is that one right there?
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me about this one. This is amazing.
Well, you know, one of the sort of specialties or iconic pieces that Daniel's known for is that he brought in elements from Baroque iconography. He literally takes these disembodied anatomical parts and he puts them on a jewelry as a, you know, earrings as a nose and ears and chains with the lips, and there you have the
This is amazing.
purses.
It goes with my dress, by the way.
Oh, don't even think about it. I will move
Quickly
it over
tell me
here.
about the jewelry.
Yes, this is also one of the symbols of the house, padlock and an evil eye that's supposed to protect you. He, as I said, he brought these very unique things, and he also developed very new materials. So innovator, absolutely, at large. We've seen, you know, that he took gold stretched wet leather, which he molded over sculptures, over clay sculptures, and he took gilded plates that he fused with the garments. So truly an innovator at its highest. And you know, he has a very interesting story, which I want to point out. He was Plano, Texas raised son of the pastor that was supposed to be originally a Disney illustrator, and he ended up in fashion, working 10 years in New York with Tom Brown, preparing for his next big role in fashion. So when he got a call from Schiaparelli, he was more than ready. He was planning that vision, and
here we go.
Is the result. Here we go.
Fantastic.
He made it clear he will not take this house anywhere else. He will not settle for anything else than going places nobody have ever seen it to go.
I can see it happening. You see it all
He's
around.
delivered.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful having you. And promise me the next time you go to a fashion house, you take me?
Everybody heard it. Winnie's +1 for Olga.
I'm going to be invited. Thank you,
Thank
sweetheart.
you for having me. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And coming up, model and author Paulina Porizkova. Yes, from your hometown?
My country girl.
That's right.
She got it right.
She joins us. But first, we're looking at the South Florida housing market. Don't go away. South Florida's real estate market continues to be one of the most sought after in the world, and of course I know why. And who better to discuss our market's ever increasing popularity and what's on the horizon for 2023 than President and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices EWM Realty, Ron Shuffield. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you, Olga. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Lots to talk about. So I'm hearing about all these people moving to Florida. I can understand why. I think it's the best place to live, at least in my opinion.
Yes.
But where are they coming from?
Well, from everywhere. Certainly the urban cities across our country. You know, Miami was built with Latin Americans. You know, and you look back into the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, we had so many people coming from all over South America. And they're still coming from South America. But now we have added to that a lot of domestic buyers that are coming from New York, from Chicago, from Southern California. So those have been, you know, a nice addition since COVID.
So with the influx that we're seeing, Ron, where are they going to go? Because the last time we talked, you know, inventory a little short. So what's going on now?
Well, we're actually growing inventory a little bit, and actually been growing inventory since March of 2022. And so as we get heavily into 23 now, we will continue to see some of that growth of inventory. And it's a good thing. Now, the challenge is the prices have gone up.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because, okay, inventory is coming up, but prices are high.
Yes.
We have interest rates, inflation going on, possible recession in the future. How does that play into this?
Well, you know, I think that it probably plays well for today's buyer because we are seeing a stabilization of prices. And in some cases, we probably will see prices retreat a little bit. I mean, it's certainly not going to be what we went through when we had the recession years and years ago, I mean, the big recession. But I think that we will probably see some softening of values a little bit. People that are selling are still going to be making some wonderful profits. But the buyers are going to be encouraged because they'll see more opportunities to buy, more units for sale, more homes for sale and condos, and the prices probably will be a little bit better.
Do you think people will rent less also in the future? Because renting obviously has gone up.
Yes, we're seeing that already.
Okay.
You know, we had a lot of renters that had been renting throughout 2021, 22 because the values were so low. Well, maybe not 21 and 22, but certainly 19 and 20. And so they have said, okay, you know, we could have afforded to buy back then, but we didn't. So now we're going to buy. And so they have the ability to do that. Interest rates are up, which is, you know, kind of distressing to some people. But when you look at where we are, even in the 7% range, it's still a bargain when you consider that our appreciation will continue to happen over the decades ahead.
So give me a prediction, because we're looking forward to 2023. How do you see the sales activity? Where do you see the market?
Well, I think the sales activity will definitely pick up from where it was last year because we have more to sell.
Okay.
And when you look back in the period between March of 22 and the end of 22, we will have seen about 100% increase in the over $1 million price range. And the overall price range, you know, every price range, I mean, 150%, you know, a lot more homes for sale today than we had a year and a half ago.
And I know it and you know it, but why do people love Florida?
Well, you know,
I could say a lot of things.
for many reasons. I think as trite as it sounds, our weather will always continue to draw people here. I mean, people love the weather. And of course, as we're into the winter season again now, I mean, we appreciate it more than ever. But also you add to that we have no state income tax. You know, we have jobs growing, you know, a lot of jobs are growing here now. And these are, you know, big paying jobs. And so I think that will continue to attract all ages, but especially the young people. And plus something that I never added a few years ago, but the diversity of our community.
I was going to say the culture, the diversity. It's huge, and I love it.
Well, and the young people, I mean, even the middle-aged people, they all want to experience this diversity that we have. So I think that we will continue to see a more diverse, if that's even possible, because we probably are one of the most diverse places on earth. And what a rich place that, you know, our kids have been able to grow up and learn other languages and do all the things that they've done.
And once you have a cafecito cubano, there's no leaving South Florida.
No going back.
That's it. Cuban coffee #1. Thank you so much, Ron. My next guest is an architect, interior designer, and now a ceramist whose inspiration for much of her work is beauty or lack of beauty. She says every piece she makes is never perfect, and that is her goal. Her artistic style was cultivated in London, Hong Kong, Miami, and New York. I want to welcome Natalia Landowska. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I want to talk about this inspiration. I mean, I was reading here all the places. Did living in all these places inspire you?
It gave me courage and it gave me confidence to explore ideas that I did not see happening before. It gave me creative freedom.
And that creativity, do you find that ceramics expresses that natural expression, in other words, that natural expression of your talents?
Interior design and architecture is very much focused on computers. You're working with machines for most of your workday, and I really needed that physical connection to the material, and I really needed to see my work come to life as a product of my hands, not only custom furniture that is being built to my drawings. I wanted to see my work coming out of my own studio.
And that work that you create, no two pieces are ever the same. Tell me why and just what it takes to create these beautiful pieces.
In fact, porcelain is a very difficult material to reach the same effect every time. So there is a lot of serendipity involved in working in ceramics, and particularly in porcelain. And that is actually the value in this idea, to create pieces that are extremely thin, extremely lightweight, but that this way I risk them changing the shape a little and coming out different way every single time.
Something I noticed was your color. I love that. Tell me that hint of color that you bring out and make it more alive.
I work with chemicals that bring out the colors. And in the end, these are all very simple, basic chemicals. And the magic of firing and the ceramic process is that something that is gray or yellow in the raw state becomes this beautiful bright color after it's fired.
It's beautiful. Speaking of fire, the collectible design world is on fire now. Why would you say that is?
I feel that people crave things that are a little bit more special, that we want to live
unique
with pieces that are unique, that tell a story, that bring something new to the table. And this is exactly what collectible design brings, is the haute couture of furniture. And people want to be a part of setting trends, of coming up with new ideas and new perception of what a furniture or a lighting piece could be.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful art. It really is beautiful, and you seem very much at peace with where you're at, so I congratulate you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Olga.
And coming up next, supermodel, actress, and now author Paulina Porizkova. Don't go away. My next guest has graced the cover of Sports Illustrated when she was just 18 years old. She calls herself an accidental former supermodel and is now an author. Her new book is titled No Filter: The Good, the Bad, and the Beautiful. I am so thrilled to speak with Paulina Porizkova. Hi, Paulina.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh,
nice to talk to you too.
Oh, great to have you. Great to see you. As always, you are absolutely beautiful, still stunning. And I wanted to ask you about this book. I read here, it's a collection of essays. So what are you writing about and why did it come about?
Well, it actually came about by Maria Shriver.
Really?
Yeah, I know. This is a kind of an interesting story because I got a call from her out of the blue, and I don't know her personally. I've never met her. Of course, I know who she is, but she called me because she followed me on Instagram, and she said, "Hey, how would you feel about writing a book for me? You know, like in the spirit that I write my Instagram, which is, you know, about beauty and aging and grief and all of this stuff that a seasoned woman deals with." And although I had gotten a lot of offers on, like, you know, writing a tell-all memoir and stuff, which I wasn't about to do, when Maria told me what she would like, I thought, oh, now that could be fun. Like, that inspired me. I thought, okay, that's something that I would actually love to do. Is, you know, it's like my Instagram, but really go in depth and flesh out all these thoughts that I keep posting every day.
I love how the book is really, it's very compelling because you cover everything from heartbreak, grief, to reinvention.
Yeah, well, that's my life.
And that's what makes us stronger.
You know, the old line is always, what doesn't break you makes you stronger.
Yes,
and I am not entirely sure I agree with it because actually, and it's even been scientifically proven that a lot of times that things just do break you, that when you're given a lot of, you know, bad things that heap up on you at the same time, a lot of people do break. So I think it's not so much what doesn't break you makes you stronger as what doesn't break you can make your heart bigger if you allow it.
Oh, I love that. And I know you also talk about your marriage and divorce from Cars frontman Rick Ocasek. Tell me about why you wanted to share that, and was it difficult, and forgive me for prying, but was it difficult to put that on paper?
That's not prying. I put it on paper, so I fully expect questions like this. Don't worry. Well, it's Rick. I met my husband when I was 19. He has been my whole life. You know, we spent 35 years together, 33, I'd say, married, and 2 separated, but still living together. And so I can't, there's nothing in my life that doesn't include my husband. He was my North Star for, you know, since I was 19 years old. Was it hard to put down on paper? You know what? It had been in me for so long. It's all I've thought about since his passing 3 years ago. So no, it wasn't hard to put it on paper because it all lived inside me and I had it at my fingertips. What was actually harder about it was when I was recording the audio version of the book, reading it back. That one was tough because all of a sudden, like, the words that I was reading were painful.
Oh, I could only imagine. Was it a little bit therapeutic for you as well? Did it help?
Just like my Instagram, yeah, writing about all of this helps because I really do believe that secrets can be poisonous, and keeping things inside, locking them up, locking them away, and not sharing them makes them fester. It makes things worse. And so I've sort of decided with my book, aptly titled No Filter, I sort of decided to share all of my life, my emotional life, with the world, albeit keeping other people's secrets, because those other people's secrets I have to carry forever. So
I agree.
But I can unburden mine.
And I'm like you. I really feel that when you open up and you talk about it, or you write about it, or even sing about it, it always helps with the emotions inside. So I'm so unfiltered, just like you. Let me ask you this, if you don't mind. You discuss about being a woman who must start over. What would you say is your message to others who have felt like you and haven't been able to start over?
Well, starting over. You know, it's really like a second, it's like a second adolescence to a certain extent, because us women, we go through menopause, and that's another sort of big hormonal shift. Like we had one when we were teenagers, and everybody remembers how miserable that was.
I'm starting to go like this, just so you know, okay?
Hey, just so you don't feel left out, my little pink turn is always with me.
There you go.
But yeah, so, you know, so the hormonal shifts are, you know, that's one thing that hits you. And then, yeah, a lot of us, you know, have been married and taking care of our children and providing for somebody else for such a long time. And all of a sudden, it's like your children move out, your husband has forgotten you exist, and now what? And yeah, it's...
I am exactly feeling exactly what you're saying. My children just left the home, and I actually sing the song from Diana Ross, It's My Turn. So I'm exactly where you are about it. It's my turn to see what I can see, and I'm embarking on that as well. So I am so inspired by you, Paulina. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so glad. I mean, I'm so glad to know that I'm not alone. So I know what it feels like to find our sisters and not feel so alone.
I'm with you 100%. Thank you so much. Good luck to you. God bless you.
Thank you. Same to you.
And thank you so much for watching Lifestyles Plus. We'll see you next time.